right, Miss Hannah, thank you so much for taking your time here. We actually chatted longer off screen than probably normal, but we finally hit record, so here we are. So I appreciate you taking time out of your day to be here. So if you want to just take a quick couple of minutes for anybody who maybe not know who you are, kind of what you do, just tell us a little bit about yourself, and then the purpose of this talk is going to be book awards. So like, what got you into authoring, and then why go the book award route? That's really interesting to me. So.
Perfect. And thank you so much, Philip, for asking me to be here. And to all of our guests, thank you so much for joining us. This is, talking about book awards and helping fiction authors with them that's my jam. I absolutely love that. So excited to be here. My name is Hannah Jacobson, and I'm the founder of Book Award Pro, which I guess it's just a really fancy title for saying I'm a full-time book awards nerd. As a kid, I really believe that book awards kind of guided me to my favorite works as a child. Because of Winn-Dixie is one that
Okay.
is just so heartfelt to me. That's just one of the first award-winning works that I read, and ever since, I enjoy tracking awards. I like understanding how they function, how do they select winners, what books are a good fit for different programs. So that's just kind of my nerdy passion. And Book Award Pro came about from that. I learned that something that I really enjoy doing could actually help authors. I think a lot of authors don't understand that awards don't happen to you. You actually have to seek them out. You have to go through a submission process. I happen to enjoy understanding that, and just wanted to provide this useful resource that could just handle it for you. So that's kind of how Book Award Pro was born.
That's awesome. Well, I'll say this too. I meant to say this at the start, but I've actually been looking forward to this interview because you're one of the few people out there that can match my energy. So this is going to be a lot of fun. So I'm excited to jump into it. That's really cool. So in terms of book awards, you talking just sparked a few questions. One thing you said that really hit me was like, book awards don't come to you. This, I mean, it might sound obvious, but people maybe think they're just some random person's going to read their book and submit it, or it's going to be somebody who gives awards out or runs an award company, and they're just going to be like, hey, well, your book's awesome, here's an award. So in terms of like going out there, and because I don't know how many awards companies or services and stuff are out there, but like, one, are there a lot for fiction? And two, is there anything, from the start that specifically will set somebody's book up for either having a chance or maybe not really having a chance, if that makes sense? That might be a tough question to answer, but
No, that's fantastic. And by the way, keep the honest questions coming. These are great. So kind of taking a step back, I think that it's as an author, you're running this entire business. You're trying to figure out not only how to write your book, but how to create it and how to market it, how to sell it. How do you do so many things all at once? And book awards have kind of flown under the radar. Most authors, even publishers, even publicists, haven't always known like how to go about getting an award. They see other books winning, they see other books being recognized, but not really sure how does that happen to my book. It's easy to think, oh, it was just selected and they're an award-winning author, but there's a process that goes into it. So kind of the Philip, you'd asked how many awards are out there. This was something that surprised me. I used to think that there may be, I don't know. Well, actually, I'll ask you a question. How many awards do you think are out there, Philip?
hey, I'm running the show here, pal. Just kidding. Well, let's see.
No wrong answers. Just
Yeah,
give
if
it
I
a shot.
accept the answer I'm about to give. The I would book awards out there. I don't know, maybe like a couple dozen, maybe.
Okay, yeah. You know what? A few years ago, I would have thought the same thing. I would have told you the same thing. Would you be surprised that there are thousands of book awards, thousands, unique
What?
book awards, and they're, unique to your genre. There's fiction, nonfiction, unpublished books, books that are about to be published, all books that were published 10, 20, 30 years ago. There's an award for every kind of work. And not every award is a great fit or a great match for your book. So trying to figure out Number one, that you know there's a submissions process to do, and then getting to the next step of figuring out, okay, now what do I submit to? That's a huge task for authors, and something that that's my nerdy passion. I actually enjoy that part of it, enjoy understanding what programs are a good fit for your book. And you'd also asked what, basically, are there things that you can do as an author that will set your book apart for better or for worse? Are there things
Sure.
that you can do to increase your chances of becoming an award-winning author, or kind of hurt those opportunities? Think of award judges as people. They're human beings, they're readers. So when they are assessing your work, they're mostly looking for, does this feel like a good book? Does the story draw me in? Does it feel professionally done? Do you have a good book cover? Um, and I know those things are so simple, but they're so true. Just you should never write your book to become award winning. You should write your book for you and for your audience, and to just do something really great. And that's what most authors do anyway. The things that can hurt your chances, poor editing is one of those things. I know editing can be expensive, and that's a difficult right. Editing can be really expensive, but even as much editing as you can do to create a very professional, polished book is one of the most helpful things that you can do. I think that's some of the feedback that we do get from award judges, that this book could be award winning. It's fantastic, but it really needs an editor. So editing, try to just put your most polished work forward. That's kind of the best tip I have there.
Which would be regardless. Is it regardless or irregardless? I don't think irregardless is a
Irregardless
word, is it? It's regardless.
is not a
Yeah,
word.
that's one of those words that sounds real, but it's not. Okay.
Right,
So
it's a fictional word.
yeah, that's right. Well, this is a fiction summit, so maybe I should use it. Regardless of whether or not you're looking to win an award someday or be some esteemed author, like you made a good point. You should always put out the best work that you can for your budget, your ability, and stuff like that. Like you don't want to just throw something. Like think about it as an author, you would never throw your first draft out there. That would be nuts. That would be the craziest thing in the entire world. And you'd have this amount of success and you'd have this big of a chance to win an award. Like you just so yeah, those things cover makes a huge, I just came off at the time of us talking, I just came off a sale for my buddy Matt Stone over at 100 Covers. They do my covers, and I was talking about in some of my emails the importance of like first impression. Like, what's the first thing your potential reader is going to see scrolling through Amazon? You have your little thumbnail. It's a cover. Like, if it's not matching your genre, if it looks like you did it by yourself, whether that's in Canva or a Word like clip art, please don't do that. There are people who can do their covers and probably maybe get away with it, but I'm always of mind of going and finding the professionals who this is what they do and just pay them the money to get you the best product. Of course, this is all budget subjective. Not everybody has deep pockets like Mark Dawson does now, or big time authors. Like if you're just getting started, it can be difficult. But yeah, I think that's a good point. Get it as polished and ready as possible. Make sure it's going to be setting yourself up for the best chance of success. I think that's awesome.
I
So
really
yeah, go for it.
wanted to tag on there that, budget really is a point of concern for a lot of authors. And we're also all human. We all make mistakes. So if you're listening to this and you think, oh my gosh, I did my own cover and I know it's not great, it's not that you can't still become award winning. Or even maybe you submitted, I would not recommend submitting your first draft. I wouldn't recommend that for an award program, but technically there are book awards that will accept your book prior to its publication. And we actually work with authors who have like an 80% complete book, and they'll actually use feedback from the judges to improve their book prior to publication. So there's all kinds of different ways you can use awards. You can still become award winning, but no matter what your budget is, do your best to make your book professional and also understand we're all human. It's okay to make mistakes. It's part of the learning journey.
Yeah, 100%. And to put that into a real world context, when I published my first book, I had to use my tax refund because I didn't have the money, like just to, disposable income to use to get my stuff off the ground. So I literally had to wait till my tax return came. And then I had to use that to get a cover, pay for editing, formatting, all that stuff. So it can be done on a budget. And shameless plug, my first book did win an award. So it can be done on a budget, I promise. Um,
Congratulations.
so
And that's
yeah,
huge. It's
yeah, it's a lot of
inspiration.
fun.
Love
Yeah.
it.
So here's my question. In terms of we were talking about money and stuff like this, do all like if you're going out and looking for awards or places that do these award services, book award services and stuff like that, are they all pay to play? Are they free entries? Like how does that typically work?
Yeah, you know what's interesting? The term pay to play is kind of used in different, well, I'm glad you said it because it's used in different ways. Some people will say pay to play. Do you pay to win? That's not a thing in book awards. Pay to play, do you pay an entry and then you have to, is that just part of it? Book awards are different from like writing contests. So when you think of these two things, book awards, a judging panel is assessing an entire work, an entire book. And you'll see the entry fee range can be anywhere from free, completely free, um, to upwards of $500. It's all over the place. The average entry fee is about $89. So it's, you know, not crazy expensive, but it's not cheap either. So you can just when you're trying to assess what's a good fit for your work, you can absolutely take budget into account. If an award is too expensive for you, don't strain your budget. There's so many others. There are thousands of awards out there. Just wait for something that's a better price point for you to submit to. And there's all kinds of different styles of awards too. You'll find like, for example, really academic style awards may be free to submit to. It may be like a university putting on the program. It may be free to submit to, but you have to mail 10 copies of your books. So keep in mind too, like how much it could cost to physically ship books and look for what I like to call digital submissions. Can you submit a PDF book copy to forego the shipping, the price of acquisition, like getting those books? Um, Save some money by looking for lower entry fees and a digital submission option, which is, by the way, I'm super stoked about digital submissions because those are really growing over the years. Book awards are getting much savvier in understanding that financial kind of constraints on authors and trying to lift that and make it easier. And it's better for the environment too.
Awesome. I'm taking notes. That's why I'm looking down.
Oh, that's awesome.
um, the host taking notes. That's right. Okay, cool. So I had a question. You were talking. I had a question. Like you saying something sparked another question. Oh yeah, here it is. So like in terms of wanting to apply for a book award, like maybe winning a book award is your goal or just a goal or something like that. Like when, and maybe this is like a subjective question and answer. Like when would be a good time for an author to look into doing that? Should you have a few books out? Can it be when you launch your very first book? Should it be after you have a little bit of momentum behind you? Like, is there any kind of strategy behind it, or does it not matter?
I love that. By the way, any of those scenarios that you kind of laid out, each one of those would have a unique strategy that you
Okay.
can do. The short answer is that it doesn't the ideal time to submit is 3 months prior to publication because you kind of get that lead time up to launch and you can grow some buzz about that upcoming book. But depending on what your goals are, you don't have to have written other books before. You don't necessarily have to be award winning yet. There's some value in sharing the journey. I'm sure we'll get more into that, Philip. But just short answer, the ideal time is about 3 months prior to publication. If you don't know when that is, better late than never. Like we have authors who actually start submitting their books years after publication, and you can still become award winning. There's still value in there.
Okay. Yeah, my book was the year after it published. I had being a book award, like a winning like, it was never on my radar. It just somebody, it popped up in my email one day from somebody I know, and I was like, let me take a shot, just give it a chance, and just see what happens. But I never really had that as a goal. But now, like, I see it more often than I obviously connecting and talking to you and stuff like that. It puts a little bit more, has my gears turning a little differently now. Um, so I think that's really cool. So in terms of like winning an award, is there any advantage to being a book award, like being an award winning author in terms of marketing, making sales, getting your name out there, or anything like that?
100%. And I'll be upfront that book awards themselves won't automatically increase your book sales. There's not like a direct
Oh,
correlation there. Right. I wish. I wish.
me too.
But it does, I will say there's value in submitting your book for an award. There's value in becoming award winning. And even for you, Philip, I know that it's been a year since you've won, but there's still value in sharing that even today. And some of those things that you see, number one, validation, just getting validated for your work, kind of being recognized for that hard work often kind of propels authors like into this next stage of their authorship. Like you feel more professional. I mean, you kind of, it feels more real all of a sudden. And when you have that fundamental shift in mindset, you start treating your business differently and you can see more results from that. Another really important thing is credibility. Award winning gives you credibility with your readers. You grow trust with them. You share your story with them, and that grows your credibility with readers. They're more likely to buy your books and to follow your author brand as a whole. So all of your books could see a rise in sales if you're sharing this. And three, marketability, exactly what you touched on just a couple of minutes ago, but just kind of this overall package of you're an award-winning author. That means you can update your Amazon page, your like your LinkedIn profile, your author website, and crazy. But one of the most effective things you can do is actually update your email signature. You don't realize how many emails you send until you have this great sounding signature. It just adds so much polish and professionalism, and you would be really surprised how many authors actually come back to us and say, I had conversations get unlocked because someone asked me a question about my email signature. That sounds like such a small thing to change. So all of these things together give you a really polished professional brand. A little validation never hurts. When you believe in yourself more, you're more likely to keep putting yourself and your work out there. And you just see this increased marketability. You also get some extra side effects like book award programs often will share their winners. So whoever their audience is, say they have an audience of readers, well, if that's being shared with them, there's um, there's buzz around your book. People are talking about your book.
Yeah, that makes sense. The three words I take from that that are like really important is like that stamp of authority, the validity of, you feeling validated now, like, oh, maybe actually taking this seriously and trying to make this a thing is actually paying off finally. And then the other one was marketability is super huge, and that's a really good point with the email signature. Like email marketing, like that's my jam. Like that's what I teach. That's what I focus on. Like that's what I do. So like just that small thing, you're right, could make all that, because if you're just sending emails all the time, doesn't matter frequency, but if you're constantly sending emails and you're building this list of people, like just having that people get to the bottom and they're like, award winning, well, that's interesting. Let me go check this thing out, right?
Right. Oh, that's so perfectly said. And even, when you share the news too in a newsletter, a lot of authors are like, I don't know how to share about myself. It feels awkward. I don't want the spotlight on me. You don't have to have the spotlight on you. You can shift the spotlight to your work being recognized. And that kind of, it's just a small difference. It's a small nuance. But sharing your book, like in a newsletter, updating your email signature, those can be really effective ways to engage your current audience.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Okay, I'm gonna ask you a loaded question here. I
Okay.
don't I don't need I don't need names or companies names or stuff like that, but like this is just something that came to mind that like it's interesting to me because not all services are created equal. So it's like, out of, because you said there's thousands of book award services and stuff out there, I'm assuming they're not all the same. So are there, just in terms of like just giving warning, or maybe they're all like, is there anything that you should look for to maybe, like, any red flags of services out there for people to, like, if they come across it, like they should already be like kind of looking at this subconsciously to make an informed decision? Or is it like basically anything out there is you can just throw your hat in the ring and it's going to be okay?
I love, by the way, thank you for asking this question. Absolutely love it. Let me kind of take it piece by piece because it is very, very nuanced and there's a lot of information. So first things first, I'd like to note that you don't have to win like the prestigious, like the famous book awards. There's so many others that can bring you great value. So if you haven't heard of it before, um, Philip, I'm guessing you haven't heard of the Subaru Book Prize for Outstanding Science Books for
That's the
Youth.
one I won. No, I'm just kidding. No, never heard of it.
Just because you haven't heard of it doesn't mean that it doesn't have value. So you don't have to win the famous ones for them to count. And second, you're absolutely right that all book awards are completely different. They're all completely unique, not only in their requirements and how they run, but how they look. What kind of books are they awarding? What's the overall quality of them? And at Book Award Pro, something that we actually validate for every single award in our system is what is the value of this award? So one thing that you can't really judge by is kind of like you can't totally judge a book by its cover. Um, of course, you want the website, the award website, you want it to look polished. But if it looks a little bit outdated, that doesn't mean that it's a bad opportunity. That's something that some authors get concerned about. Like this award program looks like it's from 2002. Well, it is, and that's okay. They haven't gone through a website refresh, but it doesn't mean that their audience and the way that they're sharing your book isn't still completely valid and helpful for you. As far as like you didn't bring up the concept of award scams, but we're kind of in that territory of what is an award scam? That's when a program, let's see, when they don't when they're not fulfilling their promises. So when you see a program that is accepting entries but never announcing winners, that's a huge red flag. That's a huge red flag if you reach out to the award and they never respond to you. That's not a huge red flag, but it's just, it lacks some professionalism. So there's just a couple of litmus tests of if you're trying to test things on your own, look for is this award announcing any winners at all, and are they being responsive? Are they meeting my needs? Are they being professional? On the flip side of that, you can also you can find value in awards. For example, something we haven't touched on yet is bonus benefits. Some of these lesser known awards are actually beginning to provide bonus benefits for authors. So for example, a complimentary editorial review as part
Mm.
of your entry, or feedback about your manuscript as part of your entry. Just things that are already they're bundled in with the let's see, if you submit to an award, you may not necessarily win, but you still receive value from that submission. You still get an editorial review or a blog post or an author spotlight podcast. So there's different ways to measure value when you're looking on your own. Try to find award programs that really align with your goals. So maybe they offer bonus benefits. Maybe the award category, like that outstanding science book for youth. Maybe that's so specific to your work, and that's let's see something better. Especially for a fiction summit. There's like really great romance genre, really unique award categories. Submitting and winning in that really unique award category for like cozy mystery with a romance nuance. What a great way to be able to share that your book won that category. So there's different kinds of value. Um, all in all, keep in mind that awards and reviews too, these accolades are actually a very safe space to be in. So don't be afraid of the bad stuff. There's value in every submission. There's value in sharing that journey with your readers, and look for those bonus benefits. Those can be really, really helpful.
Yeah. If you get scammed, call me and Hannah. We'll go take care of it.
Right. And you
That's
know
right.
what? Part of my role at Book Award Pro is really to kind of sort out how often does this happen? How does it happen? Most frequently, and I use frequently with air quotes, because in all my years of doing this, and out of thousands of awards, I can count on one hand how many times like an actual scam has happened. And at that time, that's why it's really important to kind of monitor and manage every step of the process, because we know when that's going down, we know when that's happening, and we can take steps to hopefully correct the awards action. Maybe it's a misunderstanding, but if things did kind of go sideways, then just getting things back on track for the authors, and yeah, just making things right for authors.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So not a lot of shady stuff going on out there in the book awards world. That's nice to know because scams are happening all the time, right? Like in everything. So
A
um
hundred percent.
that's good to know. So in terms of people who apply for book awards, I mainly deal with like self-published authors, but
Okay.
there's obviously traditional published authors. So like are there, I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this question already, but like are there specific award services that are like just for self-published, just for traditional, or you might go in and you're going up against everybody, and stuff like that. So is there one, does that exist? And two, like if you are a self-published author and you're worried you're going up against some kind of powerhouse with a traditional publisher backing them, like is there like a strategy to stay away from those people?
Actually, all of the above. So you'll find out of all these awards, there are programs that are specific to self-published authors, independent authors, traditionally published authors. And then you find others that are completely open. It doesn't matter so much how you decided to publish as the end result of, what are you presenting to the judging panel. I recommend submitting to any of those. So if you're a self-published author, focus on self-published, independent, and very open programs. So I know that was an interesting point that you brought up, Philip, that it can feel a little intimidating to go up against the big powerhouses because maybe you have a limited budget, maybe you even know that your book cover isn't in the best of shape. Um, but I would caveat that with, if you aren't submitting to these award programs, then there's no opportunity for your work to be recognized. And you may actually be surprised that, okay, so maybe I used book cover as an example. Maybe your book cover isn't as well put together as one of the fancy ones, but your story rocked it and absolutely won the award. We see that happen, and that's completely within your reach. So don't be afraid if other types of published books can enter the same program. That's not a detractor, and in fact, for you could be another point of marketability that uh, your book was among all of these other high quality entrants, and it was chosen, or that it was kind of in the running at the same time. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, it makes perfect. If I understand it, everybody else understands it. So yeah, that makes perfect sense. So let's say hypothetical, this author has won an award and they're writing books, they're publishing, they're loving what they're doing. Like, is there any benefit to continuously go out there and try to win more awards, or is it like I won an award, like I don't really have to focus on that anymore because I'm an award-winning author, or
Yeah, and again, this is completely up to your preference and what your goals are. We work with authors who do both of those things. So for one, say that you won an award and you're an award-winning author forever, and your novel is award-winning. There's so many ways that you can continue to share that in a way that kind of just increases your polish just over time. You can there's ways to leverage that. That's very different from an author who decides to actually make awards their marketing strategy, like a main point of that. And I say that publicists actually use this. So, for example, say that you're looking at a 6 month time period and you perform one submission every month. So that kind of like spaces out your budget just a little bit. And also every single month, you have a fresh award nomination to share. And somewhere in that 6 month period, depending on how well, did you submit your book? Was it highly targeted? You might actually become an award winning author in that period of time and keep up that momentum with more submissions, more news, cross promoting with other authors. So I won't go too deep into that, but those two different paths can definitely be they're both really powerful in their own way, and you should do what feels best for you and for your author brand.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. So like if you're that person that's like submitting a book, your book every month for 6 months just to see what happens, is it the same book you're submitting, or if you have more than one, are you submitting multiple books? Like this place you're doing this book, the next place you're doing this book. Like, does that make sense?
Yeah, it does 100%. You can do it either way. So if you're really trying to highlight one book in particular, maybe you're trying to give it a brand refresh, maybe you're trying to kind of relaunch it. Well, then maybe you would focus your efforts into that into that single book. But maybe you have a series and you're kind of curious like which award may or which book may perform best in awards. We've had authors have, say a series of 3 books. 1 month they'll send the first book, second month they'll send the second book, the third book, and then they'll cycle it back and just do that for 2 or 3 cycles. So there's all kinds of different creative ways to actually use that and just support whatever your unique goals are. I think that's one of my big kind of fangirl things about awards is you can use them to support whatever kind of books that you write. Even if you're a fiction author and you write nonfiction, there's different awards for different books. There's so many different ways to just make an impact on your entire author brand.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I was gonna ask this question first, but then when you were saying something, it made me ask the previous question. So, like, let's say you won an award,
Okay.
and we touched on this just a little bit before, kind of in passing, in terms of like announcing that you won an award.
Yes.
It can feel weird. I can tell you, it's like I don't like being the center of attention. So it's like, how do I do this because I'm excited? I want to share it with my people without being like the tool that's like, look at me, I did it. So one, you had mentioned, I'm gonna ask you a two-part question.
Okay.
One, you mentioned like if you feel that way, then try to turn it on not you, but like your work, like your book, or figure out a way to spin it so it doesn't feel like you're bragging on yourself.
Yep.
And two, you win an award. How soon should you be announcing it, doing like the press release or something like that?
So and again, thank you for just kind of sharing your honest thoughts because there's a lot of authors here who are feeling the same thing. In fact, most authors aren't winning an award and thinking, "Yay, I can't wait to brag about myself. That feels great." Um, no one's really saying that. So something I like to touch on is the concept of story marketing, and what that is using your author journey, your book's journey, and incorporating technology to share things in a really authentic way, in a way that your readers will connect with. And always keep this in mind before we go deeper into this. Always keep in mind your goal isn't to share about yourself or to share about your book. Your goal is to connect with your reader, connect with your audience. So kind of put yourself in their shoes for a moment. And that concept of removing the spotlight from yourself, um, just as a course of being an author, and for the purpose of this conversation, we're talking about awards, so I'll use that as an example. But there are so many things happening throughout your day that you don't even notice anymore. It's just part of your day, it's part of your story, it's part of being an author. But the act of submitting for a book award, that is so unique and so interesting for a reader to come across. Like that concept, that's a story. That is a moment that you can share with your audience to kind of help them resonate with your author journey. So when you share, Philip, let's see an example. Maybe um, I just found I just found a book award that may be a good opportunity for my book. What do you guys think? Should I submit for it? We have authors post that, and their social audience will actually get engaged and they get excited to kind of become part of that author's journey and give feedback, kind of provide feedback into that process. So don't be afraid to share these moments as a course of your day with your audience. That's what they resonate with. That's what they connect with. If it happens to be about an award, that can just kind of add a level of professionalism to your brand, but it doesn't have to be about, yay, look at me, I won an award. Um, that being said, when you are sharing about an award win, it's not, you don't want to be so aloof that it's not clear that you won an award. Does that make sense? You don't want to be so hands off that it's, you're not really sure what kind of news went down. So the simple act of highlighting that your work was recognized, you can do that in very respectful ways. That's not, you're not a human billboard. That's not just so uncomfortable. We see authors kind of, you can do this in creative ways. One may be to like celebrate with another author who won, like maybe another author in your same genre, so like literary fiction. Say that you connected with another author in that category, you can kind of share each other's success and say, I'm so honored to be recognized for my work alongside Philip. Um, just a way of bringing in community, some humbleness, and just making it professional. Does that help? Does that kind of make it feel less daunting and kind of freaky to share about yourself?
No, yeah, that's perfect because you talking and some of the things I took away is being authentic is super huge. It's like one of my key pillars with business and just life in general is being authentic. Like it sounds so cliche, is like being your authentic self, but like the only reason I say that to people is because when I first got started and my building my business from the ground up, it's kind of like you feel like you have to be this different person because like this is how these people act in this industry, or like this person's super successful and this is how they are, I've got to be like that. So I think the authentic part is huge. And then the other thing you said that is really, really important, I think, to take away is when you're sharing this, if you have that kind of hesitancy about like, I don't want to make it selfish, be self-serving, be like, put it back on the reader. They love, I can tell you this from personal experience because I am super engaged with my email list. They love feeling like they're a part of your journey. They just eat it up, right? Because it's like they look at you like they read your book, they ordered it, it was shipped to their house or it's on their device. And it's like you're like this author that they really like. And it's like that know, like, and trust factor. And just finding a way to, I don't want to say spin it because that can sound kind of sneaky, but like structuring it where it's like you're including them in this and it's going to be a lot less scammy and feel icky for yourself. So I think those 2 points you made are just huge, especially with something like that.
And as a reader, by the way, I love posts and newsletter things like that. I always respond to those things because I feel like I'm part of this author's journey and they actually included me. That feels so cool.
Yeah, I love people emailing me and I respond. I actually had somebody, funny enough, I was talking about this yesterday, I think, is somebody emailed me back because when I send emails out, it's a little off topic, but we're talking about engaging with your audience. I always try to ask a question, like a simple call to action or something like that. And I had somebody respond. They're like, the first sentence they said was, "Hey, I don't know if you read or respond to these at all," but and then they went on to share whatever it is I was asking, and I was like, "Of course I respond to these because like, why wouldn't I? I love engaging with these people because they've taken the time and the trust to be in my world." So I tell people all the time, if you have an email list or a social media and people are engaging with you, please, please, please engage back, right? Don't be that person that doesn't. Don't ghost people.
I love that. You also said something that really just like hit home with me. The concept of when you're an author, sometimes it feels tempting to like become this other person and have a different persona. But when you kind of like lean into that authenticity, number one, you'll make mistakes and sometimes you'll say things and you're like, I don't really like how that was phrased. That's part of the learning journey, and you'll find your personal style along the way. None of us start out with that. So if you're kind of at that point and you think, wow, this is kind of a rigid sounding message, it's not as fluid as I'd like it to be, or it's not as cool as this other person, try on different outfits, try on different styles, find what works right for you, and you'll over time you'll keep engaging and yeah, just keep engaging with your audience. That's awesome, Philip.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I appreciate it. So here's another question as they come to me as we're talking. So you win an award. We've talked about you can put it on, you can update it on your, because I know people will be like, well, when this happens, like, where do I share it? Like, not just sending it out in an email blast, but like, there's places it should live forever. Your email signature, like you mentioned, your Amazon profile, your website, stuff like that. Is there any benefit or, strategy behind putting it on like your book cover, like people who are like 4 million copies sold or New York Times best-selling author? Can you have like award-winning author kind of as that like tag at the top of a book cover? Is that a good idea?
100%. And you really touched on it doesn't have to be the award seal. Say that you get say you win the award, you receive a seal, and say that you just don't like it, or maybe the color of it doesn't really go great with your book, or you just love the cover, you don't want to put a seal on it. That's okay. You can infuse that award winning, I've seen like from the award winning novelist or from the award winning author, or just like you said, award winning novel um, language like that you can infuse on your book cover. You can put it kind of in your author bio. There's different ways you can use it on the cover of your book, in the interior of your book, to just kind of give it that leveled up professional feel. Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Now you mentioned the seals and stuff like this. And I'm going to ask this question because I've, it's like you go to 10 doctors, you get 10 different opinions on the same problem. So it's like, what do you believe? I don't understand what's happening. So I've heard people say, absolutely never put the seal on your cover. It looks cheesy. It looks corny. It looks like it just looks silly. And then I hear people being like, this is a stamp of authority. Like you should absolutely have it on your cover. Like, where do you fall in line with that? And you mentioned like the color and the style and like you love your cover, maybe you don't want to put anything on it. Like, is there any benefit, positive or negative, in having a seal on your cover?
Yes, great questions.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Fantastic. For what it's worth, yeah, that like 10 different doctors, 10 different opinions, it does come down to what's your opinion? What do you want as an author? Also, your book is it's your product, it's yours. So you have a say in exactly how that's how you want that to feel. I would say, before I give my opinion on this, go into a bookstore sometime and just notice how are other award-winning authors using awards in their language on their books. It's so unique, and different genres use them very differently. Literary fiction is very different from nonfiction, it's very different from YA, super different. And there's even a I'm a fan of award seals, and again I kind of harken back to my days of when I was a kid, just as a reader, awards they led me to my favorite works. So when you have an award seal on your cover, it instills trust and credibility. It kind of conveys this professionalism. Humans are humans. We like an award seal. It looks nice. So humans are drawn to that, and you can use that for your benefit. And I also personally, I saw this recently. It was a Caldecott award winner. Actually, it was Caldecott, and it was a young adult fiction book. Actually, played with three different award seals on the cover. It was a lot of seals, but they actually played with it and made it work in the cover, perfect for a YA audience. So do what's right for you, do what you just personally like, and don't be afraid to have fun with it. There's not a perfect like industry standard for it. Make it yours. Do it the way you want to.
Okay, cool. So here's more of an analytical question, and maybe there's not even an answer to this, but like I know like when you're getting a cover designed, and
Yeah.
obviously people who have written and published, or like you get a cover designer, you're going back and forth, like you learn these things. You're ignorant to them starting out because you just don't know. At least I was. Maybe I'm just assuming everybody else is, but I was super ignorant when it came to this stuff. So like with your book cover, your author name should be large, not tucked away somewhere where people can't see it. Your title should be big enough. And there are people who have their names bigger than the titles, the same size. Maybe the title is bigger than the name, but the name's still really big, and stuff like that. Is there any kind of strategy or any kind of benefit to having them placed in different areas on the cover, the size of them, stuff like that?
Interestingly, so just to caveat this, I'm not a book cover designer. I'm not a professional. We actually do know and work with a lot of book cover designers who will kind of like offer an opinion on things like, okay, if the award seal, it needs to be high resolution so it looks as crisp and clean as possible. The color, kind of the feel, I don't know what the technical term for that is, but kind of the feel, the vibe of the award seal, does it kind of go with your book? There's a lot of nuance that a professional designer would be able to tell you. As a reader and as someone who loves bookstores and perusing them, one of the most creative things I've seen and that I personally love is just a tiny award seal on the spine of the book, because your book is often like lined up on a shelf and it's still a way to kind of grab someone's attention when you see all these rows of books lined up. That's interesting. As far as design standards for how large a seal should be, exactly how to do that, unfortunately, I can't say for certain on that.
I know it's a crazy question. That's like something
Great question.
you'd have to like get into the weeds of testing and analyzing stuff to figure that out. And it may not even make a difference, right? It was just something that popped in my head.
It's so interesting. No, it really does. I think that it makes a difference, and I think that maybe the answer is depending on how you decide to show it may also change the appeal of your book. If you're really proud of an award, like I've seen some gigantic award seals at the bookstore and like, the famous awards, and it's not a detractor. It's just something that they really wanted to highlight. It just changes, I guess, just know that it changes the feel of your book. Could be for better or for worse. Use your judgment as a human, your judgment as an author, and kind of your preferences, and also find a book cover design specialist who can kind of guide you in the right way.
100%. Yeah, you could even test it. Like, I remember listening to a webinar by Nick Stevenson a few months back, and he was like, I got three different cover designed, and I ran ads to each cover over a certain period of time. And the cover was the only thing that changed. And I analyzed sales, and we figured out which cover based on the layout, the way things were moved around, the colors, the title, and stuff like that. And they were like, here is the big difference for this cover that won versus the other two. So it could be even thing like you were mentioning that person tested out like or had three different cover seals created. Like maybe you do it without a cover, did a seal and just test that out for a certain period of time and then put the seal on it and change nothing else and see if you're an analytical person. So I think that could be kind of cool.
That is awesome. I want to go watch that after we're finished here. That's fantastic.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that'd be interesting, I think. Okay, I'm trying to think. I think we covered a lot on book awards. So if I'm missing a question, this is going to be your time to say if there's anything else that you feel like we missed or anything you want to rehash on, add to, or anything like that. This would be speak now or forever hold your peace kind of moment here.
Yeah, you know what? Something I feel like I didn't cover on too much here is that no matter what award you submit to, um, and no matter if you become award winning from that submission, every stage of the process can mean something for your book. And I go back to this because that can increase the value of your submission. It can help you just kind of put on your author hat and go into practice mode for marketing your book. Sharing each step of the journey is a really natural, authentic way to engage with your readers. So from the moment you identify an award you'd like to submit to, when you actually perform the submission, maybe when you're awaiting results, when results are announced, each one of these steps, try to send a social post. Maybe mention it in a newsletter. Maybe not a call out on its own, but just start practicing, use every step of the process to actually create value for your book. And if you do become award winning, of course, there's lots of really great ways to be able to use that, but don't miss out on all the other ways that you can use that ahead of time.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's awesome. So I know you've got some goodies for us. Before we do that, people are probably asking, maybe wondering, because I don't think we clarified this at the start. Is Book Awards Pro a book award service, or is it a we're gonna go find you the right book award for your book service?
Thank you for clarifying. So, Book Award Pro is a technology service. So, what you do, you end up, if you join Book Award Pro, you upload a PDF copy of your book, and we will identify, our system will identify what award and review matches are a good fit for your book. It can also tell you which awards to submit to, and we can actually perform those submissions for you. So, we kind of cover the full process, and we also have a story marketing feature on our paid plans that allow you to actually share that news. You don't have to figure out exactly what to say. That feature will handle it for you. Um, so yeah, kind of handling the book award process from start to finish.
Yeah, sifting through the chaos so they don't have to go out there and do it. If there's thousands out there, like you say, there are, like, who wants to go do that research?
Right. It's really time consuming. And even on our free plan, you actually get award matches for your book. So you don't have to go sift through and figure out what you're eligible for. You can just kind of let those matches come to you and say, "Oh, I'd like to submit to this one," and take action from there.
That's awesome. That's a really cool service. So everybody's thinking this. What are the goodies?
Yeah, so for being an attendee here, Book Award Pro is going to give you 1 free month of essential service. And so you will get research, book awards, and reviews matched to your book. And you also have a handy dandy side panel to be able to kind of access that Book Award Pro research. So when does this award announce? What's just a description of this award to help you make a decision at a glance? And for premium pass holders, we're going to give you 1 free month of Plus service. So, in addition to knowing what awards are out there for your book, we will actually, our system will tell you this is the award opportunity you should submit to this month, your most valuable opportunity.
Wow, that's awesome. I appreciate that. I think people will eat that up, especially if they're like, I would love to be an award-winning author, right?
We
Yeah,
hope it's helpful, and thank you so much. This summit is fantastic. And Philip, you're a great host.
I appreciate it.
Fiction
Yeah.
authors, this is so exciting.
Yeah, that's so nice. Well, I can't thank you enough for being here. I assume it's bookawardspro.com or dot something. Where would people go find out
So
about
you can
this?
always find us, like all of our pricing, our plans, information is always available on bookawardpro.com. You can email us anytime too, and that address is team, at bookawardpro.com. And our social handle is always Book Award Pro. So come connect with us on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. We'd love to hear from you. It's always a joy to connect with authors.
Awesome. And we will definitely have those links below this video. So for the people who are just attending and don't feel the need to want to grab the premium pass, you'll have the free month of the essential, I believe I remember you saying,
Yes,
right? And then,
exactly
of
right.
course, the website, the social stuff, you can go check them out. And then, of course, people who take the dive into the premium pass pool, you'll have the free month of the plus service. So we'll have that inside there too. Miss Hannah, this was so much fun. I really appreciate it. I knew this was going to be a blast, and it's even more fun than I thought it was going to be. So thank you so much for your time and being here. I've kept you long enough. I told you before I could keep this going on for hours, but I won't do that to people, and I won't do that to you. So I appreciate you being here and taking your time out of your busy day. And yeah, I can't wait for people to check you out and hopefully get moving in the right direction.
This is fantastic. And thank you, Philip, for asking me to be here. It's always a pleasure. If you ever have questions, you, your audience, if you ever have questions about book awards, let us know. It's our very favorite thing in the world, and we would be honored to support you in your award winning journey.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks everybody who listened or watched or however you did it. And we'll see you guys in the next one.